Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer. And today with me, I have an amazing lady, Miss Edina Adler. Did I say that right?
You
Edina?
did. Yes,
Awesome.
you did.
Edina, where are you located?
I'm in the East Bay, which is about less than an hour inland from San Francisco.
Okay, awesome. So I've had a chance to have Miss Edina on our various channels and meetings, and I've had a chance to talk to her. And I think she's an amazing lady. I love her message and how she shows up in the world. And I've asked her to be here to share with you guys a little bit more about herself, her passions, why she does what she does. And I wanted to thank you guys for actually tuning in and being with us today and listening to this interview. So, Adina, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit more about how you found yourself doing what you do and why you're passionate about it. And then we can go from there.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be able to reach out to your people and get the message out about step parenting and how it can be a difficult battle or a joyful journey, depending on whether you're prepared for it. So I started out as a stepmom over 11 years ago now. But I was a social worker, and I've been a therapist working with couples. I work a lot now with blended families and couples. And over the course of some 25 years of working with families and kids, I kept seeing these patterns over and over again, but I didn't really understand them until I experienced myself being a stepmom. I didn't understand the dynamics of divorce and how it affected children, right, especially teenagers and preteens. And I saw, kids who were basically like refugees in another country, being moved into another person's home with people they didn't even know that well, and they had no say in it. It was like being uprooted from their home, really. So it kind of struck me when I saw photographs of the refugee children on the train with their teddy bears going who knows where. And it struck me that, wow, that really is how a lot of these kids I've worked with felt like when their parents divorced and then they remarried or got together with someone new, sometimes a little too quickly, because they were in love and they thought, oh, we're going to just have a happy family, the Brady Bunch kind of thing. Right. But I found very quickly that I wasn't, even with my background in psychology, I had never learned a single thing about step families in any of the courses I'd ever taken in graduate school or undergraduate. And that was striking to me, that I didn't know what the heck I was doing as a step parent. I didn't know whether to try and parent them or not parent them, or, how much time I should be spending with the kids and the family all together, how much I should communicate with the ex, whether I should try to be her friend. I had all of these big questions in my head, and it caused me some stress, I'll tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that I've noticed, when you talk about families or supporting children, oftentimes you have programs for children, programs for couples, programs for parenting, programs for health. But then when it comes to difficult topics, the taboo topics, the topics that people and families don't talk about, there's very little support, and people really have to kind of dig in there, find their support. And oftentimes when you're going through these turmoils, you really need that help fast. It's not something where, well, just like everything else, you just Google it and you just find the next best thing that you need. Right. So it's difficult to find that. And so I'm really glad that you do what you do and you've stepped forward to actually share this information. And like you said, there's this whole variety of these families where you've got
large number.
First of all, there's a large number of them. Second
Very
of all,
large.
the relationship type varies too. You've got people who are still completely kind of co-managing the situation. You got others that can't stand to, see the sight or think about the other person. And then the kids are oftentimes caught in the middle. And
mostly,
like you said, there is no solid cookbook on this is what you're supposed to do. So, so thank you for doing that and sharing this information. Now, in this type of situation, how can people assess, the best course of action for themselves? Is there a cookie cutter method, or is there something that they have to kind of create their own action plan? Like, where do you start with
It's
this?
funny you should say that because, you would think that, I mean, I was looking at the statistics that nearly half of the children in the US will experience their parents divorcing before they turn 18. That's millions of kids. You would think that there would be courses for people to take, at least for therapists to take on how to help blended families, right?
Right.
And I haven't found a course other than those, occasional seminars being offered by people who, like me, there's a few of us, not a lot of us though, out there who work specifically, on blended step family issues. So I came up with this, I took a training with a coach in New York who's worked with step families and created a foundation, Step Family Foundation, and she trains people to be step family coaches. So I took her course and read a lot of books in the first year or so of my being a stepmom because I was struggling. And I came to find that there are certain things you can do, but there are two components to it. One is addressing your own inner issues and, the kids' feelings about the divorce and helping them work through that, which a lot of people don't do, really, really paying attention to the kids because it's really difficult for them to transition into a new family.
Right.
And they have conflicts of loyalties and all of those things. There are ways to deal with, but it's not a quick fix. It takes a couple of years for a step family to really gel and for the relationships between the step parent and the step kids to really bond.
Right.
It's not a 3-month or 6-month experience. It's more like a 2-year to 5-year experience. So you have to be prepared for the time it's going to take, first of all, and you have to know some things to do and some things not to do, which is why I'm giving this handout for people who are interested, who are listening, about 5 do's and 5 don'ts. It's just a quick, reference for a couple of things to do and not do. But it's helpful to know that if you're not prepared for the challenges and the conflicts that come out of being a blended family, you're likely going to get blindsided and there will be probably some trouble ahead. So I'm glad that I learned those things within like the first year or 2 of my being a stepmom. And it didn't wait 5 years to learn them. But I put together a program that combines my background in parent training and learning about different parenting styles and what is the most successful parenting style for teaching kids emotional intelligence, which basically means dealing with their feelings in a productive way. Because if you don't have that skill as a parent, you're going to have a really hard time as a step parent. Because you're going to need twice as much skill as a step parent to help your step kids work through a lot of their emotional stuff. So that's one thing. I put together the parenting with the step family skills, which has to do with couples and the relationship itself and how you strengthen that relationship so that you handle conflict well instead of it becoming a disaster, and building up resentments and not being able to talk about things that are challenging. So it's kind of a 2-part approach that I do.
Edina, does the age of the children have to changes how the step parents would approach this whole thing, younger
Absolutely.
versus say teenagers?
Absolutely. In fact, it's a lot easier if the kids are under 5 or under 6. I would say under 6. It's a lot easier than if they're 10 or older. So that's one thing to know is if you are getting into a relationship with somebody who has teenagers, you better have some good skills. There's some really good parenting skills that you're going to need to help that kid learn how to cope with all the feelings that are coming up for them, because half of the kids that go through divorce wind up with mental health issues. Almost half, 45%. I know. And why don't we know this? I didn't know it.
Not to mention that is just for people who have documented cases of separation.
Right.
There are many families that just put up with it for many years, just being unhappy, which in itself can create unhappy habits and interactions and patterns within the family as well.
Yeah.
Which is just as relevant to this topic as
Yeah.
well.
To
So
me, that's the reason I got into it. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, absolutely. Go ahead. So what are the challenges that typically people come to you that they're expressing, they're experiencing?
So first of all, number one is they're expecting it to be like the Brady Bunch. They have this completely inaccurate expectation that the kids are just going to love them, and everything's going to be hunky dory if they just love the kids enough. And of course they're going to appreciate them, taking care of them. But that is not exactly what unfolds. They may, and it depends on how much of a difficult divorce it was also, and whether the ex is trying to turn the kids against their ex or not. So
Right.
that also complicates things, right?
Right.
But I had a pretty difficult situation with my husband's ex, and yet I discovered it was really possible to raise healthy children in the midst of all that. And they were conflicted. They did have, conflicts of loyalty and all of that, which were exaggerated by the ex. But we got through it. It took some skill, though. It took some real time. It didn't happen overnight. So, yeah.
Okay, so what would be the one tip or suggestion that you would have for parents or step parents to make this transition a little bit smoother and more pleasant for themselves, as well as for the children, to make it functional?
So one of the key things that is different than biological families is that it's important to focus on the one-on-one relationship with the kids and not try and have the whole family doing things together all the time. It's much more important to even put aside, spending family time for spending one-on-one time. That's a really important thing a takeaway, I would say.
To actually build a relationship with the individual, not just
Yeah.
because we are now a new family, basically.
Right.
Got
Don't
it.
try to force family togetherness on the kids.
Right.
Try
That's
to make one-on-one time with each kid, as a step parent, especially.
That's really good to know. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Edina, how can people find out more about you and what you do and connect with you?
Well, I have a website, although it's at the moment getting redone. So I wouldn't want to, I don't know if I'd send people to it now, but it's stepbystepfamilycoaching.com. And my email is in the chat. And also I have a webinar coming up where I'm going to give people a lot of good information on some of the things to look out for. It's going to be about an hour and 15 minutes, and then plus some time for Q&A. And I'm doing that once a month. The next one is in March 31st, the last day of the month, which is a Thursday. I'm going to probably do that towards the end of every month probably for the next few months at least.
All right. Well, that's good that you are doing this as a recurring event so that our audience members can jump on at any given month, basically, and based on when they're watching this. So I'll make sure that I'll put the details in the description box. Guys, please go ahead and check the description box. There's going to be links there. There's going to be actually the website. If it's not working, just go ahead and feel free to email Edina and reach out to her. Remember that connecting and making connections is a big part of feeling supported, not only for yourself, but also to role model that kids are not alone and there is support out there for them. So when you do that, you exemplify, you show how for them to go ahead and reach out for help and support. And that's a really important part of things that we need to teach our kids. So I appreciate all of you guys. I invite you guys, if you haven't already done so, to click subscribe so that you get notified of the latest experts that come here, share their expertise and gems, as well as offer gifts. And thank you, Edina, for actually sharing the gift that you mentioned. I think that's a really powerful tool. So make sure that you guys get that. And again, Edina, I look forward to future collaborations with you as well. And thank you
Likewise.
for taking the time out of your
Thank
busy
you.
schedule to be here with us.
And thank you so much for your concern for the mental health of kids all over and your commitment to that. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we really enjoyed having you here. Until next time, cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.